So I finished the fusion Kantra the Cyclone, and right away I built her out and decided to bring her into Clan Boss to see what she can do. Now, from reading her kit, she isn't the greatest champion for Clan Boss, but we're still going to give it a try to know for sure. Now, just how good is she, and should we be using her in Clan Boss? Well, check out a few of my screenshots featuring Kantra the Cyclone. Here's a nightmare run, and the rest of the screenshots are all on Ultra Nightmare difficulty. Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? This is Yasso here. What I'm doing today is that I brought Kantra the Cyclone into the Clan Boss. What I want to see is if she is able to put out damage. So let's observe a few of the rounds and I'll get into talking about her. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm setting up my team's rotation so that I can put it on auto. So if you look at her damage, and then if you observe Rosin's A1 damage, the damage multiplier or the damage output is fairly similar, except that Rosin's A1 does 3 hits and Kantra's A1 does 2 hits. That's what I look at to see if this champion can put out damage or not. I try to compare it to another champion that can put out similar damage. And before I forget, please like my video and subscribe to my channel. It really lets me know how well I'm doing, and actually seeing the likes and more subscribers on my channel is actually really motivating for me to continue doing what I am doing, and I thank you for that. And then if you observe Kantra's A2, it does 3 hits, but it doesn't hit hard. So to me, that's actually a little disappointing. I was actually hoping that her A2 would put out a bit more damage than what we're seeing here. But then again, to be fair, it is an AoE attack, so in a single clan boss battle or a single boss battle, I guess, it does make sense as to why it doesn't put out as high of a damage multiplier as single target abilities. So let's go over talking about her kit a bit. On her A1, she attacks one enemy 2 times and has a 40% chance of stealing a buff. Her A2 attacks all enemies 3 times, and each hit has a 50% chance of placing one of the following buffs: block buff debuff, decrease attack debuff, decrease speed debuff, weaken debuff, decrease accuracy debuff, and heal reduction debuff. And the randomness of this ability makes her not as efficient as what we would want her to be against the clan boss. And that's because most of the debuff doesn't do anything against the clan boss. However, the only 2 debuffs that will actually help us out is only the decrease attack and the weaken debuff. So if Kantra doesn't land one of those 2 debuffs, and because there's 6 random debuffs that she can put up, it makes the ability just way too random. And then because of that, I decided to build her with low accuracy against the clan boss. Alright, so what made me actually wanted to test her against Clan Boss was her passive, and that's called No Escape. So the first part of it we don't really care about. Basically what it does is that it decreases each enemy's accuracy by 10 for each debuff that they are under. And again, against the Clan Boss, we're not going to worry too much about that. But the next section of her passive is actually really good. And what it does is that she receives 4% less damage for each debuff on the attacker. And because you can place a maximum of 10 debuffs on the clan boss, then that's a lot of damage mitigation that Kantra is going to take. Now, I've tested over 6 clan boss battles using Kantra in there, and she's often one of the last champion to get knocked out. So yeah, she's really tanky because of this passive. She also heals a little bit of her HP each time the debuff falls off. She heals about 1,250 HP, and in the later rounds that's not going to do much, but then sometimes it does come in really clutch. It will help her survive a few hits or 2 especially if she can't recover her HP back from her lifesteal. And then the last part of her passive, the Provoke, that doesn't work against the clan boss, so we can ignore that. And then her Aura, it increases accuracy by 60 in all the battles. And especially if you're early game or mid game, and if you're in need of accuracy, then go ahead, try to put her as your lead. The 60 additional accuracy will help you land your debuffs. Otherwise, if you don't need the accuracy, then use another champion to lead besides Kantra. So I built her in two different ways. I first ran her in Stalwart gears, but what I realized was that her self-heal from the debuff expiring was not enough to sustain her in the later rounds, and then I mentioned that earlier too. So what I did was I rebuilt her by running lifesteal on her, and this really helped her in staying in the battle a lot more efficiently. Basically, lifesteal allows her to heal back her life, and she's not so dependent on having all those debuffs expiring every turn. For her stats, because I am trying to see what her full potentials are when I maximize her full build, so I do have some pretty insane stats on her. And for her stats, I have her at 35k HP. We don't need attack stats on her. Her defense is at 5.3k, and I know that's really high. And because I didn't want to build her for accuracy, it opened up for more options for other stats, which was why I was able to get this high of a defense on her. Her speed, she's speed tuned for a counterattack team. She's at 177. And then because I am trying to get my max damage potential out of her, I do have her with over 100% critical rate, and I have 181% critical damage. And then for debuff, resistance, and the debuff accuracy, we don't care about that. I do have her at 132 accuracy though. If I could actually bring that lower, I'll bring the lower, but that's what I have for the time being. And for her masteries, it's pretty straightforward. I have her with the offensive and defensive tree. Basically, the offensive tree, I went with War Master, and the idea of that is to increase her damage. And then the defensive tree, the idea of that is to mitigate damage so that she can survive longer. And then in conclusion, she's definitely usable in Clan Boss if you have the gears to build her for damage, but her utility is just not there. Her A2 is too random, and her damage output lags for using her as a damage dealer on your team. And what I did was I did build her for maximizing her damage output, and actually with that type of stats, she should be able to put out way more damage than what Kantra was able to do. So again, I don't really recommend using her in Clan Boss. She can be used for damage dealer if you don't have anyone else. But right now, in Raid Shadow Legends, there's just way too many champions that can put out damage. If you could go ahead and use someone else besides Kantra that will give your team a lot more utility in Clan Boss, then I would recommend to use another champion. But then if you don't have much options, then Kantra is quite tanky. And again, she will still be able to put out some type of damage. It's just not like the top tier type of damage. And if I were to rank it, from like SS, S, A tier, B tier, C tier, and D tier, I would probably put her around the B/A tier, somewhere between that. She's definitely not S tier or SS tier. And is she still usable in Clan Boss? And definitely, yes, she's definitely usable in Clan Boss. She is really tanky. She will probably be one of the last champion to die even on your roster too. And she will be able to put out some damage. Again, her damage is not top tier, as I mentioned earlier. And because her utility is just too random, it's not efficient in Clan Boss. But then again, if you need one of those two debuff that you actually want on the Clan Boss, which is the decrease attack and the weaken debuff, and if you don't have anyone else, then I say go ahead and use Kantra. Alright, and that's all I have for today. If you have any questions for me, then please let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please go ahead and click the like button and subscribe. It really helps me out, and it lets me know how well I'm doing, and actually it's actually really motivating to see more likes and subscribers. Alright, well, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.